Hai, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Abdul Hadi bin Zainuddin. My number matrix is 3251929. So, today I will be explain about one of the tradition theory communication, which is phenomenological theory. So, let's get on to it. So, the first introduction. The phenomenological theory is the major interpretive approach within the communication studies that focuses on the understanding of human experience as it consciously live and perceive. Rather than seeking objective, the measurable turns individual make sense of their everyday realities. In communication studies, this theory is significant because the communication is merely the transmission of message, but a process through which meaning is constructed, shared, and interpreted based on the living experience. So the phenomenological theory helps the scholars and practitioners better understanding how people experience the media, interpersonal communication, organizational communication from their own perspective. So, we go for the definition. Phenomenological theory is grounded in the study of phenomena as they appear to human consciousness. In communication, it seeks to understand how meaning arises through individual lived experience, perception, and interpretations of communication acts. So, from the reality, a phenomenological perspective is not fixed for external, but it also for socially and experimentally constructed. So, we now go for the key concept. There are several key concepts underpinning for phenomenological theory. So, the first one is intentionality. Refers to the idea that consciousness is always directed toward something. People are always conscious of objects, events, or others. The second one is lifeful, which is Lebenswelt. Describe that the everyday world of lived experience that individuals take for granted. The third one is intersubjectivity, highlights for how meaning is shared and how the meaning is negotiated between individuals through communication. And the last one is bracketing, which is evolves setting aside preconceived and assumptions to understand experiences as they are lived. Now we go for the history. So the phenomenological theory is come up with the originated in philosophy from German through the work of Edmund Husserl in the early 20th century. Husserl argued that careful description of consciousness experience as the foundation of knowledge. Now we go for the major scholar. The first one is Martin Heidegger expanded this theory by focusing on being in the world, in physical context, culture, and existence. In social and communication context, Alfred Charles applied this theory to everyday social interaction, highlighting how shared meanings enable to communication. In communication studies, scholars such as Carl Rogers adopted this phenomenological theory to explore interpersonal understanding, empathy, and meaning making. Now we go for the application of the theory itself. So will be applied to 3 Ds of communication. The first one is media communication. The second one is interpersonal communication. The third one is organizational communication. So we go for the mass communication. In media studies, phenomenology theory is used to understand how audiences experience media text rather than how media objectively affect behavior. For example, viewers may interpret the same television program differently based on their personal histories, emotions, cultural backgrounds. A phenomenological approach to social media research may examine how users experience online identity, preference, and connection rather than measuring engagement solely through metrics such as likes or shares. So one of the case study example that I found is a phenomenological theory that applied to news consumption during the COVID-19 pandemic explored how audiences experience televised and online news. So rather than the measuring trust level statistically, research conducted in-depth interviews to understand the feelings such as anxiety, reassurance, and fatigue when watching daily press briefings. So findings show that audiences' emotional experience shape their perception of credibility more than factual accuracy alone, demonstrating how lived experience influence media meaning. We go for the second one is the interpersonal communication. So phenomenology is particularly influential in interpersonal communication. It helps explain how empathy, understanding, and relational meaning develop through lived interaction. For instance, in counseling or any interviews, effective communication depends on the ability to understand another person's subjective experience. One of the case studies that I found is in healthcare communication, the phenomenological research has been used to study doctor-patient interactions. One case study examined patients' lived experience during medical consultation and found that the patient felt more satisfied when the doctor acknowledged them with the emotion and personal concern rather than focusing solely on the clinical information. So this highlights how phenomenological understand improves empathy and relational communication towards with the interview. So we go for the third one is organizational communication. In organizational context, phenomenology theory can be applied to understand how employees experience workplace culture, leadership, and communication process and practices. Rather than the viewing organization as purely structural system, phenomenology explores how meaning is created through everyday interaction, meetings, and shared narrative. So one of the example study that I found is about the employees in the broadcasting organization undergoing digital transformation revealed that staff experience the change as both exciting and threatening, while management communicated the change as progress and innovation. Employees describe feelings of uncertainty, loss of professional identity, pressure to adapt. This gap between managerial intention and employee lived experience help explain resistance to change. Okay, now we go for the critical review, which is explain about the strength and also for the weakness for this theory. So the first one is for strength is deep understanding of human experience, because this theory is ability to capture richness of lived experience, because phenomenology explores how individuals feel, perceive, and interpret communication. This makes it highly valuable for studying emotions, identity, meaning, and relationships. And for the second one is human-centered and interpretive approach. This theory places humans at the center of communication process. It respects that participants as a meaning makers, not the passive receivers of information. This is especially important in fields such as counseling, healthcare communication, education, and also for media studies. So the third one is for the strong fit for qualitative research. Why this is fit for qualitative research? Because we study on in-depth interview, focus group, and narrative group. This method allows research to explore experiences in participants' own words, leading to nuance and context sensitive findings. And the fourth is flexibility across contexts. Phenomenology can be applied to media, interpersonal, organizational, and digital communication. It adapts, allow to research, explore new communication environments such as social media, virtual meetings, and also online communication. Okay, now we go for the weaknesses. The first one is limited generalizability. So because of the phenomenology research typically involves small samples and deep exploration of individual experiences. So findings cannot be easily be generalized to larger populations. Critics argue that this limits its usefulness for policy making or larger scale decision making. And the second one is high level of subjectivity. So phenomenology relies heavily on participants, interpretation, and researchers. Despite efforts such as bracketing, research can never fully eliminate personal bias. So this raises concerns about the reliability and also objectivity. So the third one is lack of predictive power. Unlike positivist theories, phenomenology theory doesn't aim to predict communication outcomes or establish cause and effect relationships. This makes it less useful for organizations that require measurable outcomes, forecasts, or performance indicators. So the fourth one is time consuming and resource intensive. So when we conduct this phenomenological theory, requires extensive data collection and analysis, including long interviews and detailed interpretation. This can be impractical in fast-paced or resource-limited research environment. The comparison this theory with other traditions. So compared to positivities or empirical traditions, phenomenological theory rejects the idea of objectivity, measurement as their primary goals. Unlike the critical theories, which is focusing on power, the ideology, and structural inequalities, phenomenology centers on individual experience rather than the social critique. Each tradition has their own distinct insights, but the phenomenology is most effective when the research goal is understanding meaning rather than explaining causality, the contemporary relevance. So the phenomenological theory remains highly relevant in today's complex communication environment. So in era digital media or virtual interactions and algorithm-driven platforms, understanding how individuals experience communication is increasingly important. So phenomenology helps scholars explore how the issues such as digital identity, online preference, and online engagement in mediated environments. Now we go for the adaptation to current challenge. So the theory has adapted to contemporary challenge by being combined with other approach such as critical phenomenology and interpretive digital research. This adaptation allows research to examine lived experience while also acknowledge the power relations, technology, and social context. In multicultural societies, phenomenology is particularly useful for understanding diverse perspectives and communication practices. And now we go for the conclusion. So phenomenological theory offers a valuable framework for understanding communication as a lived, meaningful experience. By focusing on consciousness, perception, and intersubjectivity, it provides deep insights into how people create and interpret meaning in the media, interpersonal, and also for the organizational context. While it has a limitation in terms of general and prediction, its strength lies in its ability to capture the richness of human experience. So critical evaluation of phenomenological theory is essential to ensure that apply appropriately and when necessary integrated with other theoretical traditions. So that's all from me. Thank you for your cooperation. I will see you next time. Bye bye. Assalamualaikum.